Peace. How's it going, Patrick? Conservative Rap. And in this video, we'll get into the economic news of the day. Now, as you know, the deep state is trying to, and they may try to down the system, the financial system itself. Money's coming in from tariffs. You also have the gold cards. You have all that the Trump and Patriots are doing to expatriate ourselves from this fiat currency system, this Federal Reserve petrodollar system. And once people experience this going into next year, they'll begin to wake up. They'll begin to wonder, why were we on this old currency system that we were of borrowing from a federal bank and inflation to begin with? So let's take a look at what's happening. And with that context, you'll see more of their plan and their agenda begin to unfold. This is directly from the Department of Justice. Trade de Nicaragua members and leaders indicted in multi-million-dollar ATM jackpotting scheme from the U.S. Attorney's Office in District of Nebraska. And just a side note, Cash, Bondi, Bongino, they have a lot of work to do because they have to rebrand or restructure the general population's view of our justice systems, the DOJ, the FBI, etc. And as I believe they proceed with more and more of what they're doing, they'll have what we call the FBI 2.0, a new FBI that has the proper perspective and respect that it should, based off what they're doing. So again, United States Attorney Leslie Woods announced that a federal grand jury in the District of Nebraska has returned 2 indictments charging 54 individuals for their roles in a large conspiracy to deploy malware and steal millions of dollars from ATMs in the United States, a crime commonly referred to as ATM jackpotting. An indictment returned on December 9th charges 22 defendants with offenses corresponding to their role in the conspiracy, including conspiracy to provide material support to terrorists, conspiracy to commit bank fraud, conspiracy to commit bank burglary, and fraud related to activity in connection with computers, conspiracy to commit money laundering. The indictment also alleges that Tren de Aragua has used jackpotting to steal millions of dollars in the United States and then transferred that proceed amongst its members and associates to conceal the illegally obtained cash. And then, of course, this goes into detail. But again, these are the deep state's soldiers. These are the people that they use for the child trafficking. These are, in addition to Antifa, who they'll use to conduct the terror activities as Trump and the Patriots continue to clean house. Moving on, economics. Just remember, when you see these statistics, you have to put them into context. And I'll let Peter St. Onge just do the explanation here. Listen.
Axios gave up and just called it confusing. On Tuesday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported job numbers for October and November. Now, usually they just give us 1 month. This time it was 2 because of the shutdown. By BLS's count, the economy lost 105,000 jobs in October and added just 64,000 in November, coming to a net loss of 41,000 jobs. Now, that sounds grim, but there are 2 very big caveats. First, federal workers made up all of the lost jobs. In fact, over the 2 months, federal workers lost 162,000 jobs, which is fantastic for taxpayers. And it means the headline loss of 41 turns into a gain of 121,000 real jobs. The other big one is deportation. So DHS has not announced exact numbers for October, November. But since Trump took office, deportations, including self-deportations as well as the old-fashioned kind, they've been running at about 250,000 per month, which is worth at least 100,000 jobs per month. In other words, BLS says we lost 41,000 jobs, controlling for federal layoffs flips it to 121,000 gain, and controlling for deportations takes it to a 300,000 job gain. Even the rise in the unemployment rate is good news because it is not being driven by falling jobs. It is being driven by more Americans coming into the workforce, which they do when they think they can get a job.
Right.
The key here is unemployment only counts people who are actively looking for work, sending resumes, going out for interviews. They're instead playing League of Legends in mom's basement or homeless in Philadelphia. They do not show up as unemployed. Statistically, they may as well be retired.
Right.
It's only when they start looking for work that they show up as unemployed.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but again, how to lie with statistics 101. Remember when you see these numbers that there's more behind them in terms of the reformatting of the economy and the reformatting of an America First policy. Now I'm going to share from Trump on Truth. Again, just to dig deeper, the only reason our employment ticked up 4.5% is because we're reducing the government workforce, who doesn't produce anything, by numbers that haven't been seen before. 100% of our new jobs are in the private sector. I could theoretically reduce unemployment to 2% overnight just by hiring people into the federal government, even though those jobs aren't necessary. I wish the fake news would report 4.5% correctly. What I'm doing is the only way to make America great again. And again, just to dig deeper here, on Just the News, Trump defies odds, achieves economic triple play with rate cuts, tariffs, and cooling inflation. I also put this on my X account if you want to check it out, dig deeper. Contrary to conventional economic wisdom and warnings from critics on the left and many economists that cutting interest rates would, while imposing broad tariffs would inevitably stoke inflation, Trump administration is achieving all three simultaneously, with the Federal Reserve lowering rates, significant tariffs in place, and inflation cooling to 2.7% as of late 2025. Democrats and economists were caught with egg on their face when President Trump's policies delivered historic job, wage, and economic growth in his first term. In other words, they tried this script again already in the past. It failed, and it's going to fail again. Along with the first reduction in wealth and income inequality for decades. As the Trump administration's policies continue to take effect, these same Democrats and economists are set to be proven wrong again, said White House spokesman Kush Desai. Despite widespread efforts from economists and opponents that combining rate cuts with tariffs with inflation, so they're repeating themselves. The Consumer Price Index report for headline inflation 2.7%, down from 3% in September, and below economics consensus report expectation of 3.1%. So again, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys get the picture. The financial news we see day to day is mostly fake news. It's politics through economic mistranslation. If Trump begins to remove taxes and gives that money back to the people, which you saw he started with the 1776 checks for the military recently, what do you think will happen to the consensus of the American working class? Jobs are going to go back, as you've seen, to the private sector. The central bank is going to lose power. And then what if we audit the gold in Fort Knox at that same time? You're going to be looking at a reality where we may be considering moving out of the central bank system entirely and returning wealth to the American people. What do you think? Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, and check me out at ConservativeRap.com for more. Thanks and take care.